All right. The dream team is back after we successfully conquered Gladiator. Shea Serrano, Jason Concepcion, and Chris Ryan tackling Armageddon, the 1998 classic, won 11 Academy Awards. Bruce Willis, Best Supporting Actor. Ben Affleck, Best Actor. Liv Tyler, she won. I didn't realize, Chris, did you know that it swept the Academy Awards that year? I had no idea.
What a year. What a year.
Yeah.
I remember just feeling so good for Billy
Yes.
Bob Thornton that year.
Yes.
Yeah, I forgot he won too. They created a word. This movie's ridiculous. It was ridiculous in 1998. Shea, as you watch it in 2020, less ridiculous, more ridiculous, or the same ridiculous?
Listen, I never thought this movie was ridiculous. To me, it is still, this is quality documentary filmmaking. This is better. This is better than The Last Dance. This is better than that Ken Burns War one. This is the one for me.
Jason?
As some of you may know, I worked in a movie theater in 97, 98, so I've seen this movie hundreds of times. It is an unbelievable masterpiece and just like so of its time, so of the late 90s that it just takes me back.
Chris?
You know how in 48 Hours, when Reggie turns to Jack and says, "You said bullshit and experience is all it takes. Well, get ready to experience some of my bullshit." That's how I feel about Armageddon. I have never seen a movie that blows through plot holes,
Yeah.
unanswerable questions,
Fuck it.
picking nits,
I love it.
fucking ridiculous American flags. Why is it the 1950s all of a sudden? And it's just like, I know what I am doing. It is Michael Bay throwing that camera through a space station, hurtling it through outer space, saving the world. And it is the most confident movie I have ever seen.
That's right. That's that's good.
Michael Bay puts himself on the map with Bad Boys. Bad Boys is a movie that we all loved Will Smith. We were with him with his rapping, with Fresh Prince, even a little 6 Degrees of Separation cameo. And then it's like, oh, cool, he's making an action movie with Martin Lawrence. Who's the director? Don't know who that is. And he dials it up to about, I don't know, somewhere between 22 and 28 on a scale of 1 to 10. In that movie, there's a lot of slow motion. There's stuff that I just hadn't seen in an action movie where everything feels like the most important moment ever. Then it goes to The Rock, a movie that will definitely be on the Rewatchables. Same thing. Dials it up. And you're like, all right, I get it. I get it with this Michael Bay guy. I see what he's doing now. He just dials it up. Then Armageddon comes in and he's like, watch this. And Shea, it's one of the all-time director action movie heat checks, right? I don't even know what would be second on the list, but I know this is first.
Yeah, this is the biggest movie director, not like biggest prestige-wise, but I'm talking about just makes the biggest kind of movies. The biggest movie director making the biggest movie with the biggest stakes possible. And he just fucking went for it. He had no doubt in his bones at all when he was making this. And it is an incredible amount of fun to rewatch.
Jason, what stood out after the 120th time of watching this in a movie theater?
What didn't stand out? First of all, about Michael Bay, I have a take. I have a take about Michael Bay, and I think Michael Bay is what happens when a director is too handsome in real life. Michael Bay is a tall, good-looking LA guy, right? Who processes the world through this lens of, I'm a really handsome guy. And this is what happens when movies get made by a really handsome guy. One. Number two, one of the thing that jumped out at me right away, because it's like in the first 5 minutes of the movie, is the absolutely egregious, unnecessary, completely petty, and after all these years, hilarious shot at Godzilla, which opened the same summer as Armageddon. What? Why are we swerving across 4 lanes of traffic to do a drive-by on Godzilla?
Godzilla was the Bradford Smith.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the heat check of all heat checks in your second, like, major film to just be like, fuck it, I'm going to take a shot at Godzilla. What? It's incredible.
Chris, Michael Bay, is this his? We're gonna do Apex Mountain later, but is this still his best performance in a movie?
I think that The Rock is probably a tighter movie. I can't tell which one I've probably seen more. This is the most movie-ass movie he has ever made. I mean, it's you cannot overstate the influence of Titanic on this movie, whether Michael Bay liked it or not. Like, I think that there's a part of Michael Bay that would have been content just shooting in like the NASA deep water tank forever, and just being like, I don't need Liv Tyler in this movie. Affleck doesn't have to be in this movie. Like, I think he would have been fine making a movie that was about Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton. But, this was basically his foray into let's make the biggest movie we possibly can. It is pop filmmaking all the way dialed up to 11. And you can see that, like, and I can't wait to talk about like the screenwriting talent that was involved in this and everybody who had a hand in it. But it weirdly, but beyond Bruckheimer, beyond Bruce Willis, beyond all the screenwriters, it still is like pure Michael Bay. It is uncut.
Yes.
Shea, would you say Michael Bay, Tony Scott after 3 drinks and 4 lines of cocaine, or Tony Scott after 11 drinks? Like, what would be the formula?
Yeah, you take Tony Scott, you take the pile that Scarface had at the end of Scarface when he was just off the rails. Those two things together is how you end up with Michael Bay's career, which I fucking love. I love this.
It's great.
So
I wonder
much.
if Tony Scott admired it or was threatened by it or just was dismissive of it, like MJ and Clyde Drexler. Like, I wonder, Jason, what do you think he felt about him in the moment as they're like technically competing?
It's interesting. I think he's more. I wonder what Fincher thinks of him, because they both came up at the same time doing music videos. They're of the same generation. And to me, Michael Bay is like all the technical brilliance of David Fincher crossed with like Fox Nation. Like, Armageddon is the most watchable and entertaining right-wing movie of all time. Like, it literally, it starts with Harry making fun of Greenpeace for wanting to protect the environment. The heroes are the oil companies,
Middle America,
who defeat an asteroid with nuclear weapons, and what they want more than anything as a reward for this is to never pay taxes again. It's an incredible film.
Its shamelessness is its power, though.
Yes,
like,
I love it.
Because as you approach that last 35 minutes or so, and that's when the movie really just sort of loses all bearing, where it's like, why do all these kids have crew cuts and they're standing in front of a poster of John F. Kennedy, like in the 90s, and they're go-karting, and getting into tornado storm shelters, and you're like, it doesn't matter. This is pure propaganda. This is and it works. Like, one of my favorite things, and I'm sure we'll talk about the absolutely amazing DVD commentary that's on the DVD version of Armageddon, is Affleck being like, I couldn't give a shit about the things that this movie is like purporting to care about, and I get choked up watching myself walk in front of this American flag to board the space shuttle.
Yeah, if they did a parody of this movie, I think it would just be the same movie. Like, if it was like the Hot Shots to Top Gun, I wouldn't maybe change like 2 scenes and that's it.
Yeah, but like straight up, like, of the 4 people on this podcast, I have seen this movie 25 times at least. Every single time William Fichtner goes up to Liv Tyler and says, I want to shake the hand of the bravest man I ever met,
it's a great
fucking
moment.
Tear up.
Listen,
this is why this movie is so good, though. Like, because every actor in the movie takes it completely seriously, with the utmost sincerity and earnestness. Like, I was watching this movie, and Laramie came and sat down right as it was finishing. She hears the Aerosmith song come on, and she was like, "How was it?" And I told her, like, totally not joking, like, I cried 3 times. 3 times I had tears come out. When Ben Affleck is doing his thing at the end, when Harry and Liv or when Bruce and Liv are doing their thing at the end, and then when he shakes her hand at the end, like in a 10-minute stretch. And they just take it so seriously. It's the only way that something like this works as well as it does.
Yeah, the parts that get me are when Colonel William Fichtner, is trying to blow up the nuke, and he makes Harry promise him promise his family and his wife and kids that he will get it done. That, and then when AJ finally breaks through like the iron ferrite plate or whatever it is when they're drilling down into it, and Harry's like, "You got it, AJ? You can do it." He's like, "Yeah, I believe it. I feel it. We're gonna break through." I have never fist pumped so hard for like someone going 802 meters, Harry, than I have in that scene.
So when I was growing up, there were all these disaster movies. Mm-hmm. It was the Towering Inferno, Airport, and it just became Earthquake. There was a Super Bowl terrorist movie, and it was like 4 or 5 years of this. And then Airplane, the comedy, came out and made fun of all of them. And then that genre kind of died. Then it came back, and it came back with these movies in a row: Independence Day, Starship Troopers, Dante's Peak, Volcano, Titanic, and then in 1998, Deep Impact and Armageddon racing to the finish line, with Deep Impact coming out earlier and then doing pretty well. Chris, what do you remember of the 1990s disaster genre era?
You know, I was trying to think about this because, you know, I don't really remember, when did Y2K fear really start to kick in? Because I didn't really go through
99.
the 90s
worrying
99. About it. I mean, I think you started to get a little bit more worried about environmentalism and like climate change and some of the stuff involved there. But this was really, I kind of sometimes feel like it's times of relative stability when our darkest imaginations take hold. And I remember that this time in, at least in my life or in like, you know, the wider culture, to be relatively stable, like to be relatively like things seem like they're going in the right direction more or less. And that's when people are like, we have the sort of room to play with the idea of what if everything went bad? You know, what if the worst possible thing happened? But ultimately this movie is very optimistic, you know, because it's about people pulling together. I mean, the scenes of civil unrest that they show are like briefly on CNN, but for the most part, it's like people in prayer, people waiting, you know, hoping and praying that these guys on this rock can get to 800 feet. What do you think, Bill?
It just seemed like there was a moment there, and I don't know. I think it had less to do with what was going on in America in the 1990s and more to do with the fact that the technology got better.
Yeah.
And you think about some of the stuff they're doing in this movie in 1998, I just don't think they were capable of doing even in 1992, 93. The last hour plus of the movie is in outer space on a fucking asteroid with, you know, astronauts falling, getting their planes exploding and their bodies hurtling and asteroids. And I don't think if you made this movie in like 1988 or 1993, it's a disaster. But watching it now, I was actually kind of surprised by how well the special effects held up. Shea, are you a special effects guy with stuff like this, or are you just like the action part?
No, I do enjoy the special effects. I especially enjoy when something like this happens, where you have the right director with the right script and the right technology all sort of meet up at the same time. And it doesn't even have to be this like big, gigantic thing. The Perfect Storm is another movie that I remember watching and feeling the exact same way about it. I was like, oh, they nailed all of
the wave
of this. The big wave at the end when he's going up. You're like, I don't know. This was like the first year they could have done this, and you get it all at the same time. And that's when you get those movies that sort of live the longest or feel the most impactful or special.
Well, Terminator 2, which was 91, I think. That was the first time I really remember thinking, oh shit, we're entering this new domain of where stuff's going. Jason, I'm going to read you a couple Michael Bay quotes from 2001. Because he took some shit. People were mad at this movie. They were mad. It became the #1 movie of 1998. It made over $500 million. And people were just pissed off. And this movie took a lot of shit in a lot of ways. There's Ben Affleck backlash. There's Bruce Willis backlash. There's too much hidden advertising in this movie. All this shit. It's just backlash. Yeah. Backlash. So Michael Bay in 2001 says the following two things. I would like your take. Number
Sure.
one, quote, Armageddon is like a total fantasy for a 15-year-old. It's funny, when the critics tried to review Armageddon, I mean, relax. It's a popcorn movie. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. That's one. Here's the second one. Armageddon, when I look at it now, it's like a comedy. It's like a fantasy comedy, all right? Do you believe Michael Bay felt that way in 1998?
Absolutely not. I believe to my core that Michael Bay wanted everybody to come out and go, this is visionary. This is Star Wars. This is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I can't believe I saw the Chrysler Building crash into the street and bodies fall out of the Chrysler Building and hit taxi cabs. I am blown away. This is important. I believe that he wanted that, and he did not get it. And I think that now he's fine with it, but I believe in that time, he was like, I want people to acknowledge that this is a masterpiece.
What's wild is he didn't get it, but he only didn't get it from a small group of people, because
Yeah.
the rest of us
The rest
walked
of
out
us-
of there
yeah.
saying that exact thing. Like, I've never seen anything like this. Holy shit. Who is this person? Give me more.
Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, you know, he is probably the most talented filmmaker that I've ever seen with this much contempt for like cinema. Because this is a thing that I think this is a guy who might have pound for pound more cinematic talent than anybody of his generation, and he spent a decade making Transformers movies. You know,
Okay.
like and those movies are actually like unwatchable in a lot of ways. Like those Transformers movies are where he kind of like leaves behind the dock and you just can't even see the shore anymore.
Yeah.
But he has repeatedly been like, yeah, you know what? I make movies for people who go see 3 movies a year. I make movies for people who are not going to have to be brought down, to be, you know, made to think too hard. They want to go to have a popcorn and a Coke, and they want to have a great night out for $30 with their date.
Well, he
And-
also said I make movies for guys who work in a movie theater who might see this 140 times over an 18-month span. That was the other part of that quote. You left
Here's
that out.
here's where I think me and you are going to argue the most on this, Chris. When you say he has like a contempt for cinema, I wholeheartedly disagree. I think this is like a new thing. This to me, like we always do like some basketball references whenever it's the four of us. Like him doing this movie here is like James Harden showing up and doing new tricks, and people are like, oh, that's not what basketball looks like. This is blasphemous. And we're like, no, this is a new thing. He's smarter than everybody else at this one trick. He's doing what he needs to do. That's how I feel whenever I watch these Michael Bay movies. I don't think he has a contempt for cinema. I think he invented a new branch, and that branch showed up. And it was like in Happy Gilmore, when the new golf fans came and the old golf fans were like, no, this is not what the fans should look like. This is not what a movie should look like. I think that's where I think he made a new thing, was like, fuck it, I'm invited to the party now, and you can't do anything about it.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think he's speaking to, I agree with you. Cause like, I think that if you look at this and you look at like Howard's End, that's not the same.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. I mean, they're made with cameras and they get edited and music gets added and there are performances, but Michael Bay is, I remember because my dad, when he would watch these movies, like when he used to be he was a film critic, he would call it, and I don't know if this was like a popularized term or if it's something he came up with, because it definitely is profane, so it sounds like something he came up with. But he would call it frame fucking, which is essentially every shot Michael Bay has, someone is either running or the camera is moving.
Yeah.
Like there is no
Yeah.
stillness in a Michael Bay movie. There is no moment where you're like, I'm calm. And even moments where Ben Affleck and Liv Tyler are having quiet, intimate moments, there's a goddamn desert behind them and the camera is moving and Aerosmith is playing. And it's like everything is a monster truck rally. And that's, he is a showman with very few matches in the I would say, honestly, like, it's like Spielberg and him, and then you have to go to those guys who were making, like Irwin Allen, making Towering Inferno and Poseidon Adventure, and then going all the way back to the big Hollywood spectacles of like the 30s and 40s. I mean, he really is a master showman. I just think that he's not making movies for, as I'm sure we'll find out, Roger Ebert.
Well, I think Jason hit it on the head. I think he thought this was his 2001: A Space Odyssey. And you read some of the quotes that he had after the fact, where he's really frustrated about the last third of the movie, how they didn't have enough time. we only did this in 16 weeks. His special effects guy had a nervous breakdown, so he had to take that part over. And reading between the lines of the quotes, it almost seems like he's like, man, if I had a do-over, this would have been remembered as one of the greatest movies ever made. And I just kind of ran out of time and money. He'll never admit that, but deep down, I think that's how he feels. A couple other things. The contempt for this movie in some circles is even Wikipedia, where near the top of the Wikipedia page for this movie, it says, quote, though the film was released to mostly negative reviews, it was an international box office success, becoming the highest grossing movie in 1998 worldwide. Although astronomers noted that the similar disaster film Deep Impact was more scientifically accurate. Like, to the bitter end, this movie's just never going to get credit. It made $550 million. The cast, we should talk about really quickly. It's a really nice mix of, you have Bruce Willis. You know, this was the 90s. Bruce Willis is probably, other than Hanks, and I actually think he's probably bigger than Denzel just for how much money his movies made. He's coming off all the Die Hard movies. He is about to do this movie, then Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. This 11-year run that he has, he's one of the 5 biggest stars in the world. So they have him. They have Affleck coming off Good Will Hunting. They have Billy Bob Thornton, about 2 years removed from Sling Blade, and where he's kind of like the indie guy for that stretch. Then Will Patton, who's just in a million movies at this point. Owen Wilson on the way up. And Steve Buscemi, who everybody loves, not to mention a bunch of those guys like William Finkner. But Billy Bob is on the record. He admits openly to doing this film for the money and jokes about it.
No shit.
Jokes about being in it, but said, quote, it's not that bad, was Steve Buscemi's, Billy Bob Thornton's quote. Buscemi also did it for the money, but said he saw it as an ensemble character film. And Bruce Willis did it for the money. You're not going to believe this. Did not care for Michael Bay's directing style. Refuses to work with him again.
This is probably, I mean, we'll probably get into this in the categories, but it is fucking absurd, the acting talent in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
absolutely obscene how they've got like essentially like the Sam Shepard repertory theater like as like guys working at NASA or guys on the Independence and the Freedom, where like Will Patton, Owen Wilson, William Fickner, and Buscemi and Billy Bob, like those guys are like huge, like hugely talented actors who are basically coming in and pinch hitting these lines here and there. And I honestly do think like without Billy Bob, this movie completely floats away from orbit. Like, I think Billy Bob Thornton actually is like the absolute like fundamental gravity of this movie.
He's actually great in it. He's really
awesome.
like fantastic.
He's incredible in it.
They're
incredible.
all good. They're all great in this movie. I don't understand why they would say they didn't like this movie. I love this movie.
Michael Bay has always kind of been the one for them king. You know, like people always, from Buscemi to Turturro and the Transformers movies, a Michael Bay picture is where you get that, like, I need a vacation home money. You know, I need to refinance my alimony money. Like, I'm glad you went off and did Sling Blade, Billy Bob, but now it's time to pay like your college loans off. Come do Armageddon.
God bless it. My wife came in about an hour into the movie and sat down for 10 minutes and was going to leave. And it was just a steady stream of her looking at me and going, he's in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, he's in this? And just her being confused. And she ended up staying for most of the movie. There's a weird Bruce Willis story that we have to mention. He was making a comedy called Broadway Brawler, and I guess was pretty deep in, and it just was not going well, and it couldn't be salvaged. And Disney's head of movies at the time, Joe Roth, worked out a deal where Willis would star in Armageddon and 2 future films for the studio, and in exchange, Disney would absorb the Broadway Brawlers costs. Just like we'll buy the movie and just eat it.
God bless.
Against the Bruce Willis salary. So they make this deal, and the other 2 films he makes are The Sixth Sense and Unbreakable. This is like the Bird McHale, the McHale and Parrish trade for Joe Barry Carroll. Unbelievable trade by Joe Roth. Yeah, we'll take the Broadway Brawler contract, but we get 2 more movies. Great job by him. So it was Disney's most expensive movie ever. It was 1998's biggest movie ever. Sadly, not surprisingly, on the list of Roger Ebert's most hated films. He named it his worst movie of 1998.
I love it.
He wrote that it was the first ever 150-minute trailer, which is really good.
Okay, that's apt.
That's good. That's good.
And he wrote, quote, "The movie is an assault on the eyes, the ears, the brain, common sense, and the human desire to be entertained." Shea, you can't fight him. He's dead. But it seems like he's just provoking you over and over again on the Rewatchables.
Yeah. That's tough. He got me with the trailer line, though. That's pretty good.
Yeah, the critics were really mad at this movie, which kind of made people like us just want to see it more.
Yeah, that's
like,
what critics do. That's what critics do. Why wasn't this in black and white? Stupid.
This movie's bulletproof, man.
Let's we have a lot of categories to hit. Most rewatchable scene. The opening asteroid, I guess attack. I don't know, would you call it an attack or asteroid
it was
spray?
Attacking the planet.
Takes out New York City. There's some good Eddie Griffin stuff. This is a tough movie stretch for New York. There's multiple movies that just like rip New York to shit now that we've had special effects. But this is pretty good action scene for the most part.
Can I just say also about this scene, this moment is how disorienting it is? Because I feel like this was much more of a late 90s action movie thing where they would bring somebody in to do like a very, very small part, but give them a really big setup. And if you brought like a Martian in and showed them the first 10 minutes of this movie, they would be like, is this a movie about Eddie Griffin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because it starts and you're like, I was like, Eddie Griffin's in this movie. I forgot. And then it was like, we're really getting a lot of Eddie Griffin buildup here. like he's going to ride the whole way across the bridge and keep talking. And then it's like, you're like, wait, is Eddie Griffin in this movie? And then it's like, no, he's not. He is out of this movie. Him and Mark Curry are gone. And it's just like, okay, I guess we'll just keep moving on. But this happened in action movies where they would be like, a comedian comes on and does 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then is out of the movie.
Who started that was Scream. Because when Scream did the Drew Barrymore move and made it seem like she was one of the stars of the movie and then just dumped her.
I think that started with executive decision when they made it seem like
Kurt Russell was
with Steven
What year
Seagal.
was that?
That was
before Scream.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Next rewatchable scene. That scene's entertaining. Bruce Willis, aka Harry Stamper. When we meet Affleck for the first time and Liv Tyler's in Affleck's bed, that whole scene is just bonkers. He's shooting a gun at him on an oil rig, like just bullets ricocheting, things going. If you were worried that this movie wasn't insane, worry no more after this scene because this movie's insane.
Especially when he does the first gunshot, it's a shotgun through the window. But the whole wall of windows explodes like a fucking bomb went off. You're like, all right, here we go.
The craziest thing in that scene to me isn't the shotgun. It's the fact that Grace calls her father Harry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
That is mind-blowing shit to me.
Terrible movie gimmick. Chris, was that, in your opinion, an HR violation by Harry or no?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. Also, it's like, is Grace nude under the, like, he's getting very, like, in the mix in an intimate moment for his daughter. Like, I would just be like, I'm going to go wait outside and then kick AJ's ass. I'm not going to be like moving the covers around with my shovel here.
With your golf club. That's why he's Harry Stamper and you're Chris Ryan. There's a difference here.
That's right.
Also has the line, "It's all funny till someone gets shot in the leg," which is a good high school yearbook quote for the kids.
This leads to one of the first creepy things about Rockhound.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first.
One of the first of about 2 dozen. Yeah.
Next one. Harry, by the way, if I missed any, feel free to come in at the end if you feel strongly about it. But Harry telling Billy Bob that the gang's going to do it, which includes demands like Oscar has some outstanding parking tickets. Noonan's got 2 women friends that he'd like to see made American citizens, no questions asked. Max would like you to bring back 8-track tapes. Chick wants a full week's Emperor package at Caesar's Palace. They want to find out who actually killed Kennedy. And Bear would like to stay in the Lincoln bedroom of the White House for the summer. And then, one more thing. None of them want to pay taxes again. This scene's great. It's actually really well written.
Yeah, we can probably just mention here that the credited and uncredited screenwriter lineup for this movie is as follows. Robert Roy Poole, Jonathan Hensley, Tony Gilroy, who wrote like the Bourne movies and Michael Clayton, Shea Serrano, J.J. Abrams, and then other writers include Paul Attanasio, Ann Biederman, Scott Rosenberg, and Robert Towne.
Robert Towne. Just an automatic $100,000 for Robert Towne with every movie in the 90s. They're like, hey, man, can you look at this one scene? We'll wire you the money into your offshore account. Scott Rosenberg, who wrote Beautiful Girls, apparently was brought in near the tail end to beef up the Liv Tyler, Ben Affleck scenes because Titanic was a huge hit and the studio was really pushing Michael Bay. Hey, man, can we get a little more of that relationship? The want to get those 15-year-olds in the movie theater, and this guy named Jason Concepcion who's working at a movie theater want him too. Can you just beef these up? So that's how you end up with really some of the worst scenes in the movie. Let's be honest. But
what?
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I beg your pardon.
It's the emotional core of this film.
You heard me. Next rewatchable scene. The crew about to take off as the president gives his speech.
Oh,
this is where Michael Bay is like, hey, what's the slowest slow motion that we can have? How many frames per second can we slow down as I see all the guys walking in a straight line toward the camera? How many takes, Chris?
I loved it.
Probably 120?
I wouldn't be surprised if they were walking backwards. That's how slow it was.
It was Michael Bay giving double middle fingers to the right stuff. And that famous scene where the Apollo astronauts are walking down the tunnel towards the camera. He was just like, yeah, that sucks.
There's a line in the movie where when they show him walking and he says that exact thing. Will Fictor's character is like, talk about all the wrong stuff.
Talk about all the wrong stuff.
Yeah. I really like the montage, especially the one woman who's sitting in like the 1950s Chevy truck with the like American flag in the background, and she's listening to it on the radio. Like, I don't know why you don't have a TV in your house, but this is unbelievable filmmaking right now.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how things worked in the late 90s from a like talk radio 24/7 news cycle standpoint, even though I was alive during that, but I don't really remember the mechanics. It's weird that everybody around the world knew about these guys and the mission and was just kind of on board, involved, following in it, not asking more questions.
Well, I guess the whole thing is like they try to keep it a secret for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next rewatchable scene when Affleck and Michael Clark Duncan almost die. Shea, your quick Michael Clark Duncan thoughts of this movie?
A+. I wish he would have been in more movies. I love Michael Clark Duncan, especially.
Jason, could this have been Shaq? Was Shaq the next call if he said no?
Absolutely
No?
No,
Okay.
no.
You sure?
No. Yes, no.
Deep down, you would
Shaq.
have enjoyed it? If there's a screen test, you wouldn't have clicked on it on YouTube?
I would have absolutely watched it, but Shaq is too much of a scene chewer. Michael Clark Duncan understands how to actually act in a scene.
He's an actor.
He's an
like
actor.
A legitimate actor. You put him in there, and like that's why his like one funny line where he's like crying in the room and he asks to get a hug, because you don't expect somebody of this talent to be making jokes like this in the movie. You can't do that with Shaq. Neon Bordeaux from Blue Chips was like the perfect Shaq role. He was in that, and everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's really good." And then he did other movies, and you're like, "Oh, never mind. Sorry, I'm sorry."
Yeah, there's some action movie Michael Clark Duncan should have been in that he wasn't in.
Anyone.
Like a buddy cop movie.
Anyone.
Yeah, where he's like him and Michael J. Fox, where there's like just a hilarious height difference.
Mike.
We missed the boat on him. I like him as well. Next rewatchable scene, the Independence gets wiped out as Billy Bob reacts to the wipeout in slow motion It's like, Billy Bob, could you crouch and have your head hit the computer terminal thing again? That's an emotional scene. By the way, kind of frightening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The guys are, a couple of those. It's a little like Quint and Jaws. Guys screaming as they're about to get vaporized by an asteroid. And we think Ben Affleck is dead. We don't know yet. That would be the next rewatchable scene. Affleck reemerging in the monster truck.
Yeah.
Does the hi Harry. Oh, that's great.
Really, and that's where we really get into fact-based, science-based
Yes,
filmmaking.
absolutely. Hardcore science at that point.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
I feel bad for Max right there. Everybody was like mourning Max, who's just been blown off the asteroid, and then here comes Ben Affleck, and we're like, "Fuck
They're
you,
like,
Max,
yeah!
let's go, Ben!"
Who's the guy? Buscemi's just like, bye, Max. I'll see you later. The last three rewatchable scenes you could basically group together. Harry says goodbye to his daughter. Harry saves the day, and then the astronauts land home. And I always think it's funny when a movie like this has a genuinely emotional moment. But we mentioned it earlier when Willie goes, Miss Stamper, Colonel Willie Sharp, United States Air Force, ma'am, requesting permission to shake the hand of the daughter of the bravest man I've ever met. It reminds me of, we covered this on the Bloodsport rewatchables. Bloodsport, we love the Bloodsport, not exactly like Citizen Kane. And then has that scene at the end when his buddy's in the hospital. He's like, hey, man.
Him and Ray.
Yeah, hit Ray. It's like, anytime, any place, anywhere. Van Damme's like, I love you, my brother. And it's like fucking emotional all of a sudden. This is like that times 100.
You can dislike the moments in this movie that are overly sentimental or that, like, animal crackers across the belly or whatever. But it's like tanking to get the number one pick. If you don't take all the L's throughout the movie to be like, Harry and Grace's relationship is important. Grace's relationship with AJ is important. It's all about love. It's all about saving the next generation of people. You don't get that last scene. And that last scene is like the absolute hammer. It's so good.
I'd like to add two more that really you could group together. I think when, we mentioned that Billy Bob is just an incredible presence in this movie, like grounding it in real authority. He's like almost like a character from a Michael Mann film, just like unbelievably competent at what he does and everything he says. I don't care if it's science-based, whatever, I believe it. I would say two scenes. The first when all the shit is happening right at the beginning and he's like, I want to know if the worst is yet to come or if we're past it. I want to know this. And he's got scientists running down hallways.
He's walking through the room and yelling all the stuff out.
And just like the chaos is coming to order, coalescing around him. And then second, when he is briefing the president and the president's like, well, how big is this thing? And the one NASA nerd is like, well, I think it's approximately 950. And then he says,
jumps in.
It's about the size of Texas,
Let's
President.
Go. Yeah.
It's just like, woof.
That's good.
More Billy Bob, folks.
The one scene where he's walking through NASA and like pushing all the doors open and screaming and everything is sort of revolving around him. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but they go straight from the asteroid. And it's like a very similar thing. Here comes this big asteroid going to cause all this trouble, everything moving around. And then here's Billy Bob on the other side on Earth. And it's like these two are coming toward each other. Fuck
the first time I actually watched it and paid attention, because obviously I was working in the theater. And then they have the reveal where Billy Bob's character, Dan, like all of a sudden like has a leg. He's showing like, oh yeah, I wanted to be up there, but I have this leg brace. I was like, wait, what? He was just like stomping through NASA headquarters. Like
That's
it was
how motivated he was, baby.
He was like Pippen in Game 6. He's playing hurt, shaking it off.
There it is.
My most rewatchable scene is the astronauts landing home and bravest man I've ever met. What do you guys have?
I have a couple I just wanted to throw in there. I thought the entire Russian space station sequence was really awesome. Just like getting Stormar in there, and then like the whole thing with the lever and Affleck on the camera, and they can't hear him. And we talked about it a little bit briefly before with disarming the bomb and swear on your daughter's life on my family's that you can hit that mark. And Will Patton be like, "Why do you have a gun in space?"
Nobody is funnier in this movie than Will Patton.
Yeah,
nobody.
Just to play off what these guys were talking about with Thornton, like just that scene with Billy Bob and Keith David, where Billy Bob does his turn on the phone with the president's the president telling him about the advisors being wrong, and then Keith David talks to him, and hangs up the phone and is like, we go forward with the secondary protocol. And Billy Bob's like, this is one order you shouldn't follow, and you fucking know it. It's just, it's so much better than it has any business being.
Okay, two things. Number one, this is a PG-13 movie. In PG-13 movies, you're only allowed to say the word fuck one time. That's it. You can only say it one time. And they saved it for that one moment right there. I really love that. Number two, I like that they make a point of saying that the cosmonaut space station has been up there for decades or whatever. And this one guy has been there alone for 18 months by himself, and everything's been fine. And then the Americans get there, and like 10 minutes later, we just accidentally blow the whole fucking thing up. It's like, this is
Don't touch anything.
Jason, compare and contrast the cosmonaut to Desmond in Lost.
Oh, just much more, obviously a lot crazier, a lot stir crazier. Desmond kind of still had his faculties, about him. Lev was absolutely gone, a mess. Like his big contribution to the effort when it all came down at the end was like, let's just take a wrench and hit all the
smash
stuff.
Shit.
He's so gone that his accent is also gone. You see, he can't,
it's just mush.
I don't know what accent that is.
Mush.
It's barely Russian. Well, what's aged the best? Oh, you guys never said Jason and Shea, your most rewatchable scene.
I like when they gather everybody up and they're like bringing the group in and informing everybody we're gonna chase them all down. I love a good like getting the group together montage.
Yeah.
My favorite like single tiny part of that whole scene is when you were talking about earlier when Bruce Willis is like giving the demands, and then he says the one about, hey, you guys wouldn't be able to tell us who killed Kennedy, would you? And they just stare at him.
Yeah.
And then he just turns around and very like sweetly shakes his head like, no, like they're not gonna tell. Like, it's so sweet, such a sweet moment right there.
I'm going to do a tie between the Billy Bob speeches and the president's speech as the astronauts are taking off. I address you tonight, not as the president of the United States. It's just like spine-chilling stuff from Michael Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
I probably would go with disarming the bomb.
That leads us to what aged the best. Billy Bob. I think I was trying to think of my favorite Billy Bob performances of all time. I just watched Friday Night Lights, the movie, with my son a couple days ago, which is now, we might have to revive it on the Rewatchables because it's been kind of just lost over the course of history. That movie's really good.
Yeah.
And he's really good. And I think it's either that or Armageddon for me for favorite Billy Bob, unless you want to go with Monsters Ball, a movie that will not be on the Rewatchables.
Blood
I
in,
hate
Blood
to bring
out.
it to you.
My favorite Billy Bob performance.
One false move.
Oh yeah, wait, I forgot about Blood in, Blood out.
One false move is incredible, Jason. That's right.
Good.
Yeah.
All right,
but yeah, Bill, the Billy Bob halftime speech in Friday Night Lights it's up there with Kurt Russell. It's up there with Al Pacino.
It's weird. The
100%.
TV series blew it out of the water, and now it's kind of lost. It came out 16 years ago, and people always gravitate to the TV series. It's
what it's missing is a happy moment. You just are bludgeoned over the head over and over again with sad things. You get Booby in the car having his breakdown after the locker room scene. You have them losing at the 1 yard line, and then you find, if I remember correctly, at the very end they're like, oh, they went on to win it the next year. And I remember sitting in the theater being like, just fucking make that movie.
Yeah.
Let me watch that. I want to watch that one.
That was the movie where I bought a crazy amount of Garrett Hedlund stock, which
man.
I was able to sell a little of on Triple Frontier. I was able to dump some of it, but I'm still holding on to a lot of it.
Bill, you got to buy the dip, man.
Billy Bob also has a great moment that isn't quite a rewatchable scene when he's explaining to them what the Armageddon is with this asteroid. And they're like, what do you mean? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, total, sir. It's what we call a global killer. Nothing would survive. Just the way he pulls that
Not
off
even
with a
the
straight
bacteria.
face. More what's aged the best. The old guy who says he wants to name the asteroid. I want to name her Dottie after my wife. She's a vicious, life-sucking bitch from which there's no escape. It's such a random, off-the-top rope, bizarre moment, but it makes me laugh. It's really fun. It's really funny for some reason.
It's another one of those, is this movie going to be somehow about this guy for a while?
Yeah, I know, right? You never see him again.
He's just in for 1.5 scenes.
The another would say the best. The patriotism. This is one of the most patriotic movies I think ever made.
I never felt more American than I do watching.
God.
But Michael
Armageddon.
Bay is not from America, right?
No,
No, he's from LA. He's from LA, man.
Yeah.
Oh, he's not Australian?
No, he just
He went
feels
to-
it. He just feels Australian.
He just
He
seems
went
like
to
he's Australian.
Crossroads.
And this is like a new bit because we had the same conversation in the Gladiator pod where Bill asked, he's not Australian about somebody in the movie that we're
I have a real kinship with Australia. The another would say it's the best. The BMW commercial that's just in the movie disguised as an actual scene with Liv Tyler and Ben Affleck. You talked about earlier, Chris, how beautifully that's shot. It's just unlike any other two lovers hanging out on a hill. And then near the end, it pans back and there's a sunset and just the most beautiful looking BMW, and it just lingers on the car. There's never been a more obvious money grab during a movie than that. It's not like this
it was
movie
also
needed
back
the money.
when you weren't supposed to. I mean, like now, like in the Avengers, like Robert Downey Jr. like every Avengers movie features Robert Downey Jr. pulling up in an Audi. But back then, that was still kind of considered like sort of tasteless.
Absolutely.
My favorite part about it is that Michael Bay is like, we had the Aerosmith soundtrack and we did some product placement, but it really helped the production to get those extra dollars, as if he was like raising money, like hand over fist from like independent financiers and doing GoFundMe. It's like Disney was paying for this. Couldn't you just ask for another fucking check?
It's a great point, Chris, because this was really transgressive stuff in the 90s. Like we're coming off of Kurt Cobain and, musicians and people in culture like fervently not selling out, and the protests against the World Trade Organization, like this anti-corporatist kind of movement. And Michael Bay's just like, yeah, fuck it. Put the BMW in the movie and like, let's get a few extra and like, let's make it look great. This was kind of not a thing that was done at the time.
Michael Bay's like, let's get an M6.
Yeah, Michael Bay and
black
Puff
one.
Daddy were both like, "We just give me the money, give me the fucking money."
I should mention in that scene, as Affleck eats animal crackers off Liv Tyler's stomach and they cuddle and all that stuff. Her dad's fucking song real life dad, the song is playing in the background. That's just weird.
The psychosexual stuff in this movie is just out of control.
Wild
It's like there's
shit.
a double weird father-daughter kind of uncomfortable stuff going on, and that part is probably the most uncomfortable.
Do you think Bay was like, okay, Ben, take the giraffe and put it into the waistband of her underwear? Yeah. Put it down there. Yep.
Try the belly button, Ben. The more would say the best. Where General Kimsey, it's a little politically incorrect now, but when he says, I'm not so optimistic. We spend $250 billion a year on defense. Here we are. The fate of the planet is in the hands of a bunch of retards I wouldn't trust with a potato gun.
Yeah.
You need like that military villain in these movies who doesn't believe in the guys.
He's a great one too. He's really, really good in that role.
Another would say the best. I like the closing credits. I like when they just throw a wedding for no reason. Like, the movie could have just ended. It's like, should we have a wedding? Yeah, fuck it. Let's put big pictures of the guys.
But that was Affleck. Affleck was like, we should do this, and it was like shot on his 8mm camera in some of those shots, and I just had this vision of like Affleck going up to Bay and being like, we really need some icing on the cake. Like after Bay has finished this movie where he splits an asteroid with a nuclear bomb.
Yeah.
Right.
Affleck is like, I have some ideas about the post-credit sequence.
Affleck's like, I'm not sure the ending landed. We need this wedding. My personal take is Affleck probably hadn't sealed the deal with Liv Tyler in real life and was just trying to come up with one more scene that gave himself a chance. Where it's like, what if we had a wedding? He's like, one more run.
Well,
speaking of,
go ahead. Well, you mentioned the psychosexual stuff between her and Harry and her father. Weirdly, that was like Liv Tyler's brand, who like broke through in Aerosmith videos, famously a band fronted by her father, in which she's like clearly an object of sexual desire, like riding tractors across fields and kidnapping farm boys, and then like riding stripper poles. Like that happened in Aerosmith videos.
I can't explain the late 90s. Natalie Portman did Beautiful Girls. all of Liv Tyler's everything. The Anna Kournikova countdown clock on the internet. People being excited for the Olsen twins to turn 18. There was a reason we thought Y2K was going to end the world.
Yeah, maybe we should have gotten hit by an asteroid.
It should have happened.
What's aged the best? Ben Affleck's commentary track, now legendary.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Unreal.
when we talk about the great commentary tracks of all time, this is the first one people go to. Most famously, he goes on this whole rant about 1 whole week. Now you guys know how to fly into space. I need my guys. Why do you need your guys? They're the best. Everyone's the best. Why are they the best? Oh, they just are. And Michael Bay gets mad and tells him to shut up.
Yes.
As they're doing it. This commentary, I haven't heard it for a while, but it's really, really bonkers. It's great.
Yeah, because it's like the whole thing with Affleck is he's like, no one was ever able to explain why it wouldn't be easier to teach astronauts how to drill
Yeah.
than it would be to teach drillers how to go into space. And it turns out it doesn't really matter either way, because when you get to space, it's basically a really dark version of being in the desert, but still.
Shea, you love nothing more when somebody has to get a group of guys together and they're the best, but there's no way of really knowing how these guys are the best. It's just assumed in the
we
movie.
Just say it.
Well,
Somebody
they're the
just says,
best.
yeah. Oh, there's a number one guy on the planet, and we're like, okay, I don't need a resume. I don't need verification. I just need one person to say this is the best person, and I have to have that one person on this job.
We just spent the last 6 weeks arguing about Jordan or LeBron. In the Armageddon, they figure out in 2 minutes who's the best oil driller.
Yeah.
No
they're the
question
best.
about
Good.
it.
All right, done. Any other candidates? No. Any other? What's age the best for you guys?
I have 2 little ones. What's age the best for me? Will Patton reacting to things. I really love when he goes to see his ex-wife, and then the kid shows up, and you see Will reacting to seeing the kid, and like he hasn't seen this kid for a long time. That's really touching. And then when he lands at the end of the movie, and then the wife and the kid show up, and he does the exact same thing, really, really touching. My second one, I think Liv Tyler has aged the best. Every time I watch a movie and she pops up in it, I'm reminded, like, she has been in 5 of my favorite movies of all time: Empire Records, That Thing You Do, Armageddon, The Strangers, and then the Lord of the Rings series. Like, this is a standout career for someone who has somehow existed just below like the surface of top level superstardom. Big fan of Liv Tyler.
Yeah. I'm gonna go with Michael Bay's dedication to using only Los Angeles locations for every location that is in this movie, whether it is New York, New Orleans, wherever. It's actually just downtown LA.
It's just he does not go past the South Bay.
No, that's it.
I have one more. What's age the best for me is Shea's love for Will Patton. I think
I love him.
When Will Patton, he's sitting at home having a glass of wine at night, and his wife's like, "Hey, Will, who do you think loved your work the most?" He's like, "There's this guy Shea Serrano, lives in Texas."
I walk out of here right now. I have 2 copies of The Postman on DVD. That's how much I love Will Patton right now. It's a great villain in The Postman.
Bill, I have one more. What's age the best?
Yeah.
This movie is like relatively complicated in terms of its technology and its science, and like it's hard sometimes to get your bearings and understand exactly, the dynamics of like how much time do they have? When do they get off of this space station to get to the asteroid? How hard is it? So what Michael Bay figured out was that you could just have in every single scene a guy going, "We have no time. We gotta go."
Yeah. Yes. Exposition aged
Who needs
incredibly.
a clock?
It's like, it is so effective to just have somebody be like, "Go, go, go. We gotta go." I wish I had somebody just running into my room every 10 minutes saying that. I would get so much more stuff done.
Maybe we should have Craig do it during the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll just be zooming through it. What's age the worst? This movie's on the Criterion Collection. Even none of us can defend that. I always thought that was
I disagree. I think it's a fantastic
What's going
pick.
on?
This is an important movie. This is an important movie.
Come on. More what's age the best or what's age the worst. This movie's 150 minutes long.
Hell yeah.
It should be
Yeah, it's a little
180
fat.
minutes long.
It's a little fat.
Go.
This is one of the most perfect examples of a movie where I'm like, I'm an idiot but I could have cut 20 minutes from this movie pretty easily.
Yeah, I think 130 would have probably been a good number.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Another What's Age the Worst, a little sobering and a bummer, but there's a wide shot of New York after that first asteroid attack, and it shows one of the two twin towers, like with the whole top of it burning. It's fucking creepy.
Mhm.
In the commentary track, Ben Affleck says he asked Michael Bay why it was easier to train oil drillers to become astronauts than it was to train astronauts to become oil drillers. And he told me to shut the fuck up. So that was the end of that talk. I don't know. I think that's aged the worst just because he lifted the hood up.
I have a theory about this. I think being an astronaut is like all math based. If you're really good at math, you could do that. But drilling rock is like all feel based. It's instinct. You have to have done this for a certain amount of time. This is just what I'm going to throw out there. I think you
I
can't
like
do
it.
this
You're not
without
wrong.
it. Yeah.
We've mentioned all the other What's Age the Worst, except how do we feel about Bruce Willis's hair in this movie?
Thumbs up.
I support
Thumbs
it.
up.
I
Thumbs up.
support it. I
Thumbs
support
up.
it. I support it.
Yeah,
You don't think
not,
it looks too much like a rug?
No, I mean, it obviously is, but it's not like he has like Harry Hamlin's hair on LA Law or something. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty realistic as
Yeah.
rugs go.
I don't think it looks enough like a rug, to be honest.
You would have gone
I would
deeper.
have gone rugger.
But
more
speaking
rug,
of
more
physical
rug.
transformations, one of my What's Age the Worst has got to be Ben Affleck having Tom Cruise's teeth.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? What?
I was going to do this in half-assed internet research. You want to do this now?
Yeah.
Can you explain this, please?
Yeah, so so in the DVD commentary, Michael Bay says we paid for a set of 20,000 pearly white teeth. Ben's going to hate that story, but there's this whole backstory of he likes close-up shots of heroes with big chins and big teeth, and he said how Ben Affleck had these little baby teeth, and they paid $20,000 to give him this big set of awesome teeth that I think he's had now for the rest of his career. But if you go Good Will Hunting, he's got different teeth. So there you go.
Okay.
So that was a Michael Bay special. Just wasn't happy with Affleck's teeth. I have no other What's Age the Worst except I am personally not a fan of Affleck and Liv Tyler, those love scenes.
I think
They're great.
I think
They are great. They're phenomenal.
Some of Rockhound's sexual deviancy is
that's not.
necessary for the plot of the movie.
Yeah. A lot of that doesn't make the trip to 2020 unscathed.
Fair.
I would add that like it's honestly it is that it's just like Rockhounds. I thought they were over 18.
Yeah, it's like
material,
multiple
which-
times. Wait, how old are you?
Multiple
Like,
times.
What's going on?
So really just that, and then again, like it is mind-boggling that Bay takes an extended shot at Roland Emmerich's Godzilla at the beginning of this movie. Like, why? Why are we doing this in your movie?
That's a What's Age the Best for me. Casting what ifs. I can only find two. Schwarzenegger was considered for Harry Stamper. Thank God that didn't happen.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
thank God.
Two people turned down Grace before Liv Tyler. Mila Jovovich
Ooh, interesting.
She's good.
and Robin Wright, who seems too old. I don't even know Robin Wright and Ben Affleck.
Can you imagine,
I've
like,
never
Robin
seen
Wright-
Robin Wright be bad in a thing, so sure.
She would have been incredible, but can you imagine her getting this script and be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
What the fuck is this?
Sean Penn picks it up. He's like, sets it on fire with a cigarette lighter. Best that guy, aka the Joey Pants Award. Need a ruling. Is William Fichtner a that guy, or is he William Fichtner? I think we all know he's William Fichtner, but I think he's a that guy.
No, he's a that guy.
He's like the A1 that guy. He's like
because I think he's the winner for this.
as close as you can get to not to like aging. I mean, like talenting your way out of the that guy category. He's right there.
Hold on, there was one other that guy that I had. I just
Mark
gotta find his
Mark
name.
Curry is a good that guy.
Chris, is William Fichtner, is he Van Zant from Heat, or is he the guy from Armageddon to you? If you had to pick one. If
I
you're
think
telling your
he's-
friends who he was, who would you pick?
You know that I can't answer any question that involves Heat without the answer being Heat. So it's
figured.
gotta be if it's on the street that I can get robbed. I'm
Yeah.
gonna kill this guy.
Do you think Billy Bob should have called Fichtner at one point and said, I'm talking to an empty telephone. because there's a dead man on the other line. The Vincent Hanna Give Me All You Got award for overacting. So many choices here. I think Carl the asteroid spotter who insults his wife, his short arc, he's got it dialed up. I think he's the...
He also does that weird thing where he's like, get my book, get my book, get my book.
He really went for it. The Brandy Booth Award for Best Performance by a Pet.
I have one other Vincent Hanna nominee.
Okay.
The other pilot, not Willie, but the guy who's like, men, this is what we train for. Suck it up.
Colonel Davis, 100%.
The Brandy Booth Award, Best Performance by a Pet. Eddie Griffin's dog, Little Richard.
Little Richard
was the name of the dog, and has attacks some dinosaurs, and then it's just dangling over an asteroid crevice. I'm going to give it 6 Chewies out of 10. The Dion Waiters Award. Is Michael Clark Duncan eligible?
I think so.
He's in a lot of the movie. I'm going to say no.
I vote no.
Which leaves us with Carl the asteroid spotter and Eddie Griffin.
Oh, it's got to go to Eddie then.
Well, so let me ask you guys a question then, because the Michael Clark Duncan question has a ripple effect. We haven't talked about him yet, but I think Owen Wilson is amazing in this movie.
He's really good. He's really good.
And
I agree.
Is that too much for Dion? Because he goes out pretty early.
I think it's just enough for Dion because, like,
I think it's good for Dion.
I think he's good for Dion. Think about there's in the great scene where the FBI is rounding up all the crew. We see Owen Wilson in a full gallop coming out of the sunset on a horse.
Yes,
in the Old West, as like Huey helicopters are chasing him across the plains. Dion Waiters Award. Bingo. Nailed it.
That's fair.
I think he has the like single funniest line in the movie. Will Patton to me is the funniest, like consistently.
You're gonna say the exact line. I know it.
The single funniest one when they're giving him the breakdown of the place, of like the environment, and he's like, "Oh, the scariest place imaginable." Like you could have just said that. Like, he's great. He should be the winner.
That's all you got to say. Scariest environment imaginable.
Recasting couch. Shea, you're not going to like this.
I'm not. I'm already mad.
You're going to be mad. You'll be legit mad. I'm bumping Liv Tyler.
All right. I got to go. This is stupid. This is always, I've never liked you. I want to leave right now. Take me off. Craig, take me out of here.
Replacing her with Angelina Jolie.
No way. No. Vote down.
Let's walk
down
it through.
3-1. You're down.
This is the year it starts happening for Angelina Jolie. This is when Gia came out. She's the right age. She
absolutely
takes it to another level with the Ben Affleck. I think Ben Affleck, you're going to get the sense like he's going to do anything for this person. Not sure I felt that with Liv Tyler.
She can't.
You mean in front of the camera or behind the camera?
Both.
Angelina Jolie, she can't do that sort of wide-eyed optimism that Liv Tyler can do. There's only one name you could have said right here that would make this like even a little bit okay. Anne Hathaway is the only name you could say right there. But Liv Tyler's
agree.
untouchable.
I agree because
Liv Tyler's untouchable.
I think if it's Angelina Jolie, you're like, why is Harry freaking out that his daughter is dating one of the dudes on the rig? Like, hasn't this happened a million times?
Yeah, if it's Angelina Jolie, you're like, why is she not in the shuttle? She should be part of the team. That's the kind of energy.
Young Angelina Jolie, though. Here's the thing.
That's the kind of energy she has, though.
This is why I'm flagging it. Her and Affleck definitely start hooking up on set during this movie, and it becomes a whole thing. We get love triangles. We get a whole bunch of shit going on. Who was he dating back then? Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah,
it could have been Ben's
We get a
blood.
Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Affleck love triangle coming out of the Armageddon set. Sign me up.
No, thank you.
It could have been Ben's blood in the vial around her neck. Everything we know about celeb culture could have shifted in that moment.
Or she ends up with Billy Bob. So maybe it's an Affleck, Billy Bob, Angelina love triangle. I mean, think of all the fun things that could have happened from this. We mentioned some of the half-assed internet research.
I have a quick recasting couch that I just want to say, but it is also a probably unanswerable question, but I just want to get a quick vote.
Okay.
Is this movie better if Owen Wilson has Ben Affleck's part?
No.
Oh, wow.
No. Ben Affleck is the all-American son, and Owen Wilson is not.
So
that.
Owen Wilson being the Marlboro Man and riding across a plains in Texas on a horse is not American enough for you.
We saw he couldn't do this when he what was that, Behind Enemy Lines, and you're like, nah, no thanks.
All right.
Ben Affleck in that movie is like top level.
Half-assed internet research. We covered some of this. The infeasibility of the H-bomb approach to blow up the asteroid was published as a paper by 4 postgraduate physics students in 2011.
That's so stupid.
Apparently this can't happen.
Again,
so
Billy Bob told
stupid.
me how if you have a firecracker in your hand and you close your fingers around the firecracker, it does more damage. So who am I going to believe? Billy Bob or these grad students?
No, that was the scientist. That's all you need. I don't understand the urge to be like, that science fiction movie that you watched about
I know.
it wasn't real. No shit. It's not, no shit. No shit.
So one of their cases was that the biggest H-bomb ever detonated on Earth was the Soviet Union's Big Ivan. And for
Great
this
name.
to have worked in Armageddon, the H-bomb they used would have had to have been 1 billion times stronger. So their argument was like probably not possible. So who knows? This is also true. NASA shows this film during their management training program. New managers are given the task of trying to spot as many errors as possible. At least 168 have been found. So that happened. The shuttle launches were filmed for real. That was actual shuttle footage, so that's cool.
Bay is such a beast, man. He's just like, I'm gonna go film a shuttle launch.
And then this is the last Laserdisc ever released on the Criterion Collection.
Holy
They
shit.
made 384. This is number 384.
They knew they were never going to top it. That's why.
And then Bob Criterion, the founder of the Criterion Collection, was like, I'm fucking out. This is the dumbest thing ever. Fuck this. We're ending the collection. Apex Mountain. This is tough. I'm going to make the case for Bruce Willis.
Whoa.
That's a mistake, but go ahead. That's a mistake.
I'm going to
Go
make the
ahead.
case. I don't believe it, but I'm going to make the case.
Okay.
He's coming off all the diehards.
Mm-hmm.
He's married to Demi Moore. They're having kids. He has the juice to get Disney to basically absorb the entire cost of his failed movie in return for Armageddon and 2 more movies, which then becomes 6 Sense and Unbreakable. I'm just saying he has about as much power as an actor could have at this point in life. I still think Die Hard is his Apex Mountain because after that he can do whatever he wants. But this is almost like a Apex 2.0 for him. It's like a second Apex.
I
Would
like
be my
that.
case. Fair?
I like that. Yeah,
Interesting.
I like. We should introduce the idea of the second Apex.
The second.
Well,
I don't think you understand
Jordan
Apex.
had 4.
I know.
Michael Jordan had 4 Apexes, right? So actors can have
Fuck it.
multiple
Just
Apexes.
like let's put a second halftime in the basketball game.
Michael Bay?
Baypex.
The Baypex?
Yeah.
Is this the
yeah.
Baypex?
The Baypex.
Absolutely. He
Yeah,
makes
yeah.
this
It's the
movie,
Bay- this is the
and,
Baypex.
and they're like,
This is the
you're,
Baypex.
you're Spielberg. What do you want to do next? And he's like, give me all of the money. Give me Affleck. We're going to Hawaii. We're making Pearl Harbor. And people were like, pass. People were like, I'm not messing with this. But he cashed in. Like this Apex Mountain to me is when you accumulate all of the chips before you cash in.
Should we
Should
we change the name to Baypex Mountain?
It is
To make it
absolutely.
even more confusing.
It is absolutely Baypex Mountain.
Michael Clark Duncan, I think it comes the next year with Green Mile.
Yeah.
Green
But
Mile.
this sets it up. Owen Wilson, no.
No.
Will Patton?
No.
No.
It's
Remember the
for Will
Titans?
Patton. It's either Remember the Titans or The Postman.
Yeah.
Yeah, but The Postman wasn't a good movie, Shay. I
I
hate to
disagree.
break it to you.
I
I know
disagree.
you liked it. I know
The
you
Postman
liked
is
it.
It's
the
a
Postman
great-
is Tom Petty Apex Mountain.
Liv Tyler?
No.
No. Lord of the Rings.
What's her
for
Apex Mountain then?
Probably Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think that Billy Bob actually, I think there's a case for Billy Bob this being his Apex Mountain for this fact alone.
Give it to
I
me.
think he does more to elevate this movie than any other film he is in. There's, remember the Titans? He's incredible. And I think he doesn't get maybe the credit for being like really a top level acting talent. But I think this movie, his war is like off the charts. If there's somebody else in that role, the gravitas, the authority, all of that stuff goes away. And then it just becomes kind of silly. He just controls the screen. And I think he's got a case. I do think it's Michael Bay. It's the Baypex. But I think I would say that Billy Bob has a good case for this being his apex.
He's really neck and neck with Ed Harris in Apollo 13 as my favorite NASA director, my favorite mission control guy.
Yeah.
Who's your least
That's
favorite?
a good call.
My
That's a good
least
call.
favorite? That's a great question, Bill.
Next Rewatchables you can answer. I'm going Monsters Ball for Billy Bob.
That's fair.
Because
you won an Oscar out of that one. I mean, he didn't, but the movie did. She did. Yeah, that's fine.
pulls it off for Halle Berry. I think, did he direct that one? I'm looking
did
this
not.
up.
Isn't that Sean Puffy Combs' Apex Mountain?
He produced it. Yeah, I don't know. Billy Bob's weird. It's a weird career where you look at his IMDb and there's a lot more misses than I'm prepared for, but I think everybody likes him.
Everybody loves him. That's why he gets so many misses.
Yeah.
We can watch Astronaut
wide
Farmer if you
leash.
want right now. I'm like, all right, let's do it.
How about 90s disaster movies, Chris? Was this Apex Mountain?
It's this or Titanic. I think you have to bow down to Titanic in this case.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
fair.
Any other Apex Mountains?
Keith
Aerosmith?
David.
Second Apex for Aerosmith?
It's not. It cannot be
It's not-
Aerosmith's.
It's not Aerosmith. Keith David's Apex Mountain is him continuing to cash voice actor checks
He's an
as he
incredible
will
voice.
for the rest of his life.
Incredible.
So I don't think it's I don't think it's Keith David.
It's the Baypex. We know it.
It is the
The
Baypex. It's the Baypex.
Before we get to the rest of this pod, I have to tell you guys a quick story.
Please do.
I started dating my wife in the summer of 98. She's from upstate New York. And we went to a wedding in spring of 1999, which was the same day as the LJ 4-point shot, which I watched in a bar at next to the reception. But during the reception, they came out to the Armageddon "I Don't Want to Close My Eyes" theme song. Was their first dance song, and I was like, "What the hell?" And then LJ hit his 4-point shot like 10 minutes later. I'm like, "What the hell is going on?
What a time to be
Has my
alive.
soul left my body? Is this Y2K yet?" They unironically came out to the Armageddon song as their first dance, and I didn't know what the fuck to do, and I had to like walk away because I was gonna start laughing. All right, next category is picking nits. It's one of the rare times in the Rewatchables history where it's almost like we have to punt on the category. I did want to say Will Patton's wife in this movie can fuck off. She's out on him.
We don't know what he did.
Yeah, we
you
don't know about what he
You can't
did.
just disregard.
We don't know what it is.
How is it? First of all, it's obviously what he did. He fucking gambled away his kid's college fund at the
Yeah.
cap table at Caesars.
Yeah.
Heavily
Okay.
Second
implied.
of all, yeah, it's
That-
how is this a nitpick?
No, I get it. I get the setup, but then it's like, oh wait, I didn't realize you were on this cool crew. All right, you're back in. Hey, honey, that's your dad. Like it was just like, come on.
If
Just
that's
because now
not
he's got a
enough,
job, you're back in on the guy. Fuck that.
if
Well,
saving
well,
the
they-
world isn't enough to get you back in the good graces, I don't know what else he could do, Bill.
Well, because their son can go to college now.
yeah, how about that?
Is willing to claim it.
Bill, how bad do you want the second Armageddon 2 to be just the first fight Will Patton and his ex have? Like after that, like
When he gambles it away again.
there's like 5 days of like pretty good honeymoon feeling, and then it's like the first time she's like, "So are you gonna watch the kid, or are you just gonna be a hero for the rest of your life?"
Yeah. I thought that was bullshit, and I didn't like her performance.
That's terrible.
Oh my
She's just
God.
out.
That's terrible.
She's completely out on the guy. Won't even let him make eye contact with the kid, and then she's back in 5 seconds. It's like, at some point, hold your ground. You can't just be like a 180 because he's got a new job.
He saved the world, so maybe she was still
saved the
better
world.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other egregious nitpicks that we have to mention, or do we just throw this category out the
That's
window?
the one you had out of this.
That's
I
it.
have- the only one I have. It made me mad.
Will
Makes me mad
Patton
every time.
wife. Oh my god.
I've got the
I'm a loyal
president.
guy. I'm sorry.
The president has no name. He is just the president.
The president.
We never find out what the name of the president of the United States. He makes a speech and is in multiple scenes, and we have no idea what his name is. That's a nitpick for me.
Okay.
That
Everything
could have
else,
been a
forget
good
it.
recasting couch, actually, if they'd just gotten some big time actor just for that one part, because it's a nothing part, right?
I advocate personally, I think this should have been a rule, is that if you're going to do a bunch of movies that are going to involve a fictional president, you cast one actor as that president for the 8 years that they could have been president. So Bill,
Oh.
I
Bill
like it.
Pullman should
I
be
like it.
president for the entire 90s.
I
It
love
should be Bill Pullman in
I
every
think-
movie.
I think that is
got-
a great idea.
That's
He
a good idea.
definitely got
Chris,
reelected
what are your
after
best ones?
Independence Day.
Thanks, guys. I
Jeff
also want to
Britt-
say that there's no sound in space, and that this movie, this
Oh, by the
movie
way.
breaks that rule. I also want to say that they spend like 15 minutes being like, we're about to lose radio contact with these guys, and then it's blackout. We're not going to be able to talk to them at all. And then one dude at NASA's like, I'm going to try and bounce the signal off of like a Russian
Got some
satellite
magic happening over here.
and that somehow, that little fix that they do allows Bruce Willis to have crystal clear FaceTime
Yes.
Zoom quality conversations with Liv Tyler at the end of this movie, where it's like, we couldn't get like a single piece of fucking information from you guys. We thought you might have blown up a nuke on us, but we've got like the one-to-one
We
Liv
got
Tyler
HD streaming now.
uplink. Yeah. So those are my biggest two ones.
There's also Affleck being able to find the guys again when his plane goes down way before the other one. I mean, you could argue he's 15,000 miles away from them.
Oh yeah.
He's just driving in a direction. Like he's like, where are you going, dude?
They make it seem like he landed in, I don't know, Anaheim, and they landed in LA. And
Yes.
it's just like, a little 50-minute ride. He'll
Yeah,
be there
just-
in time.
Dip down the 405. Yeah.
Yeah, just dial that thing up to about 70. You'll be there in about 45 minutes, Ben.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I have special recognition for the moment towards the end of the film when the asteroid starts getting hit by asteroids.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, one of my big things is, we just got done talking about this on Crimson Tide, where like the last hour of Crimson Tide is in real time, right?
Yeah.
In this movie, they will just hit the brakes on time when they want to. Like so it's obviously urgent. An asteroid is literally heading for the planet. Like time is of the essence. They're in the South China Sea when it starts, I think. Then they go to NASA, I guess in Houston. But the guys have like split to all corners of the earth. They get them all back. And after like 12 days of hard training, they're like, let them go out. I have to say, I just would have been like a little bit more like, we literally have a clock. This isn't an imaginary deadline. This isn't anything like that. And then when they get up there, it's strange. We never see them eat while they're up there. Like
Yeah,
they don't do any of like the normal, like, when do they go to the bathroom? Like
They're crapping the suit 100%.
like if they
crapping the
crashed,
suit.
if Ben Affleck and Michael Clark Duncan's plane crashed, like I don't understand, like when did they eat between then and driving across the moon?
Yeah, asking
I don't
too many
know.
questions right now.
Sorry, I'm just nitpicking.
Just go with it. Just
Look,
go with it.
all that's fine, but none of it's as bad as Will Patton's wife taking him back in 5 seconds.
Oh, God.
Best quote, we mentioned most of them, unless anybody has one that really jumps out.
I think
I have
Owen
I
Wilson
have one.
wins.
Okay.
From my guy Will, who is just I love a big Will fan. I like that he very, very seriously responds to Steve Buscemi's character losing his mind with the line, "He's got space dementia," which is just I didn't even know it was a thing, and he just throws it out there, and everybody is like, "Oh, cool, he has space dementia." Like we know what that is. You knew it immediately. Great moment for my guy Will right there. I love you, Will.
I love your love for Will Patton.
No, that's
Could
that's Figner. That's Figner. That's the
Could
other
this-
Will.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
Could this be remade as a 10-episode Netflix show? Please, God, no. It's already 3 hours. It's already 3 episodes in because it's 2.5 hours.
I would definitely watch a 10 episode Netflix show about the day after this and Will Patton's relationship with his wife and his son.
Yeah, where he has to move out again.
And the first time he's like, so like, what do you think about maybe a quick trip to Vegas? And she's just like, you've never changed.
I'm a little online gambling. So probably unanswerable questions. Affleck can never break up with Liv Tyler, right?
Never.
After this Harry thing,
That's it.
If they end up growing apart, he's just got to ride it out for the rest of it.
It's the Daniel LaRusso corollary. The fact that Allie broke up with him after Karate Kid 1 ruins the franchise. They can never break up.
Sure.
Never.
Agree. Rockhound, what are his next 5 days like once they get back and those guys are heroes? What kind of how would you compare it to Dennis Rodman in the last 2 years of The Last Dance?
All I know is a lot of illegal shit is happening during that stretch.
He's probably dead within a year, right?
Oh, I think he's dead in 6 months.
Easily.
I mean, like, first of all, there's no guarantee he's going to get the cash for the loan shark at, what was it, 60% interest? Like, yeah. And
Like
then
a
he's
fucking
definitely
student
got
loan.
a bunch of pending, sundry cases waiting for him in various states when his face gets flashed on the news.
And I think Michael Clark Duncan's character has probably a year to get into the Lincoln bedroom. If that doesn't happen during the Clinton presidency, it's not happening during the George W. Bush presidency. It probably doesn't happen. So time sensitivity there. So here's a question. What are Harry Stamper's next 20 years looking like as an American hero and an icon? Like, does he end up on a dollar bill?
Absolutely.
Is there a statue? Does he get a holiday? Like, Jason, how does it shape out for him next 5 years?
Harry Stamper, yes, 100%. First of all, they call his oil rig the Harry Stamper Memorial Oil Rig, and they raise a statue to him. And I think people
Where's the statue? What?
It's on top of the oil rig.
Okay.
It's on top of the oil rig.
Got it.
It's like an animatronic statue, and his arm is
That's
just
right.
pumping the
Going like
oil out.
No, it's pumping a shotgun and flames come out the top.
You don't think he gets a holiday?
He absolutely gets a holiday.
I mean, he saves the world.
You guys are missing this, man. Harry
What is it?
Stamper has about 17 good years. And then the takes come.
Oh,
And then it's like, sorry if I don't want to worship a guy who was essentially bringing about the end of the world anyway with fossil fuel drilling.
That's a good call.
oh, that's excellent.
And it's
That's a
like,
good call.
you won't catch me praying at the altar of this, guy who defiled Mother Nature.
Right.
I wish the asteroid had hit us. That would be nature healing.
Right.
No,
My name
Notice
is
the
my name.
hagiography never mentions ...
Yeah.
My name is Willow Jones, and I was on the SS Tree when Harry S. Stamper hit me in the head with a golf ball and fractured my skull.
Right. Harry Stamper, the darker side, when he was shooting a rifle at Ben Affleck for an hour as bullets were scattering everywhere. Yeah, you're right. I think initially there's a statue and talk of a holiday, and then the backlash comes
Yes.
in the form of like a very long New York Times Magazine feature, investigative, about some of Harry's behavior on the oil rig. That's fair. Shea, this one's for you.
Give it to me.
It's a 2-part question.
All right.
First part is, why didn't they ever ask Michael Bay to direct a Fast and Furious movie? And the second part is, would that have made the world explode?
Michael Bay can do a lot of things, but he can't quite get a grip on the Fast and the Furious franchise. You need Justin Lin in that role. He's got to be like the central point for that universe. Michael Bay is a little too bombastic.
You don't think Vin Diesel would have turned on him immediately? Would have gotten some good stories?
Immediately, halfway through the first movie, he would have been gone.
Did Michael Bay ever work with The Rock?
Yeah, Pain
He
and Gain.
hasn't, right?
Yeah, Pain and Gain.
Pain and
Gain.
Gain. That's
Pain and
right.
Gain.
He was.
Yeah.
The Rock was good in Pain and Gain.
Yeah.
It's an incredible. That's the best performance The Rock has ever given.
Yeah, I like that one. Any other unanswerable questions?
This one is answerable, but it's going to take a lot of work. At the very beginning of the movie, when they talk about the extinction of the dinosaurs, and then they cut to 65 million years later, that's got to be the longest like cutting forward or cutting backward that has ever happened in a movie. That's got
I
to
think
be
that
it.
every movie should open with the extinction of the dinosaurs.
Charles
Just
has
start
that
there.
voice.
We have that.
It would have been awesome if the only thing that could have improved heat is if the title card was like 65 million years ago, dinosaurs met the asteroid. Now De Niro meets Pacino.
Pacino's like, these dinosaurs are good. Okay, motherfuckers.
Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, motherfuckers.
So I'm surprised how easily I was able to answer our final question. Who won the movie? To me, it's like Billy Bob Thornton in a runaway.
I love it. It's Billy Bob. We've had a lot of like the major, we've had a run of rewatchables where like it's a very obvious who won the movie or it's one of the top 2 people in the movie. This is the first one where it's like this movie is not as good as it could be without like the 4th guy, without the 3rd guy.
Will Patton. That's my pick. Will Patton won the movie.
That's just a homer pick.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Absolutely.
You're in the pocket of Big Postman.
That's like when you defend the 99 Spurs title as a legitimate title.
You
It's
can
just
go
the same
straight
kind
to
of
hell.
Homer thing.
Straight to hell.
Jason, who do you have for who won the movie?
Yeah, it's Billy Bob. Billy Bob is just incredible in this role. Unbelievable stuff. Just a magnetic figure.
I am 100% surprised by the like Billy Bob takes on this podcast right now. I was not expecting that. I don't know how y'all 3 synced up on that one thing, but all right.
Well,
We
the
just
problem
love
is
Sling Blade.
he was in Blood In, Blood Out, and you can only see him through that prism. It's hard for you to accept him as other characters.
He's lightning. He's lightning
Yeah.
forever. Yeah.
Anytime he's in anything else, you're just kind of half confused. If you had to say, is this a Michael Bay movie, a Bruce Willis movie, a Ben Affleck movie, or whatever? What would you say? It's a Michael Bay movie,
Bay.
right?
Hey,
Yeah.
dude.
Michael
Yeah.
Bay. Yeah.
Every Michael Bay movie is a Michael Bay movie.
Yeah.
And yet, none of us had him for winning the movie.
No.
Well, I think he's his own worst enemy. You know what I mean? Like he does a
Yeah.
lot of things that are great, but he really can spin out, as we saw with the Transformers movies. And I think, like you guys mentioned before, like Turturro's in the Transformers movies. I think Stanley Tucci's in them, but like it's having this baseline of guys like Buscemi and Billy Bob and Will Patton and William Fichtner to kind of keep this movie attached.
One of the reasons Michael Bay doesn't win this movie is because his attitude after the movie came out was like, I didn't even like this movie. I forget
Yeah,
it.
he should
I was making a comedy.
He should have stood by it. He should have stood by it.
Yeah, he really didn't. He kind of.
If
didn't
you're
stick up for
listening,
it.
Michael Bay, you made a fucking masterpiece. You should own it. Just own it.
Yeah. Enjoy your fine work, Michael Bay. Well, anyway, that's it for Armageddon. We dedicated this one to our friend Louis K, who's been texting me for 2 years asking for the Armageddon rewatchables and getting furious every time we did some goofy one like Proof of Life. So there you go. Chris, Shea, Jason, a pleasure as always. We'll see you in the next rewatchables.
Woo!
You're canceled, Harry Stamper.